this is Nicole. Welcome to my channel. This video comes after my previous one in which I customized a vintage Japanese doll. Here I'm making her animal guide because, well, she's blind, and though she has the gift of insight, she needs help with everyday life. You will meet her at the end of the video where she will be united with her animal guide, which as you can see is a fish. Kind of surrealistic, but this is the freedom you get when you travel into the world of fantasy. I started by making a simple armature using aluminum foil, and because it will be attached to a kind of chain she will be holding and the whole thing will be in the air, I'm using ultralight polymer clay. This clay, as the name suggests, is extremely light compared to other types of clay, which is very convenient in cases like this, but it has its flaws. The problem with this clay is that it's not very friendly when it comes to detailed sculpting, but the fish has a quite simple shape, so it's fine for this project. To smooth the edges and texture whenever I'm working with polymer clay, I use isopropyl alcohol. Normally I work with clay tools, but in this case I had to use my fingers several times. I have to admit I'm not sure if this follows safety rules. I probably should have used gloves, but it wasn't convenient, so I took a small, I hope, risk. After I finished with the shape, I proceeded to sandpaper. I used 4 types, beginning with rough and continuing with thinner until I got a really smooth texture. Then I started drawing the scales. My original idea was to first draw them with pencil and then add dimension by painting shadows on each one with acrylic pencils. But when I finished the first stage, I realized I could never achieve the 3D look I wanted by merely drawing and painting, and I came up with an idea. I decided to use that circular leftovers that you get when you pierce paper with a hole punch. Then I moved on to constructing my homemade peeping bag because I needed to control the amount of glue I was going to use for each scale, so I wouldn't make a mess. So I made the peeping bag using a part of a thin plastic. After that, I started gluing the scales one by one. My friends, when they comment on my projects, usually say, "I admire your patience. I could never do something like that. I would get really frustrated." Well, there is a misunderstanding here. It's not about patience. To me, doing small repetitive actions is actually relaxing. I don't need to be patient. It works like meditation, and it calms me inside. When I completed gluing the scales, I filled them using modeling paste. It helped make it look more natural and removed the paper-like look. I was very pleased with the outcome. I could have never achieved this 3D look by merely using pencils. So now that I had the texture I wanted, I could improve it with shading. At first I thought about doing a wash in light blue-grey color, but I was afraid the paper scales would absorb more color than I wanted. So I decided to paint the shadows one by one using an extremely thin brush. My fears were justified. Although I used the brush, the color still dipped into the scales more than I wanted, but not so much that I couldn't fix it. I used the dry brushing technique without dabbing the brush to remove extra paint. That worked perfectly. The extra color was covered and I ended up with subtle shadows that emphasized the 3D look without destroying the whiteness I wanted. After that, I did a proper dry brushing using shiny white acrylic and my fish acquired a beautiful but discreet shine. I used 2 tiny beads for the eye bulbs in pink. My doll's makeup is based on pink, so I thought this would be a nice match. Now starts the really creative part. It's time to make the fins and the tail. I learned this technique from Daniel Cooper. He is the emperor of resin. I leave a link to his channel in the description. What I'm doing is spray some hairspray onto a silicone base. I used one of my mold sheets for that and letting it dry. When the liquid of the spray dries, it creates small uneven spots. Then I paint on top using some old eyeshadows. You can use pastels or any kind of pigment. The color paints the silicone base but not the hairspray spots, and it ends up creating this amazing abstract pattern. I left that aside for a while and went on taking measurements for the top fin. I used a piece of crafting wire to trace the curve of the fish's back. I cut it to the proper length and placed it onto the silicone base. I'm using this as a guide for where the fin's vines should go, for which I'm using crafting wire previously painted white. Then I removed the guide and started pouring soft UV resin on and between the vines to create the shape of the fin. With a pointy wooden stick, I pulled the edges of the resin along the vines to create a more fluid look. And I cured it using my UV flashlight. When I removed the fin from the silicone base, the eyeshadow had stuck onto the UV resin and its beautiful pattern had transferred to the fin. Really impressive technique. I was really happy with the result, so I continued making the tail. I glued pieces of crafting wire using UV resin at the beginning of the tail, which I had already made with polymer clay as a continuation of the body. And applied the same technique with the hairspray and everything. The outcome was once again majestic. I added a few more vines using thinner wire this time to complete the look, and I covered everything with an extra layer of resin. Finally, I trimmed any excess hairspray along the edges and began bending the tail. This is why I chose soft UV resin instead of hard. And start shaping it gently. I carefully bent the tail until it flowed exactly the way I wanted. And that changed everything. The tail's wave-like shape made it look completely alive and so realistic. I painted the edges and smoothed the transition from the clay to the resin using white acrylic. Then I applied the second layer of shiny white acrylic to match the look of the scales, and on top I gently dusted some shiny white eyeshadow. I am not usually into shiny colors, but in this case I think it really enhances the watery look I wanted to achieve. As a final step, I added a layer of hard UV resin this time to secure the shape and make it more stable. When it came to the top fin, I first glued it on the back of my fish, then continued with everything else, bending, painting and adding shadows. And on top, I add a layer of hard UV resin. I made 3 pairs of smaller fins in different sizes of camera, then glued them onto different parts of the body using hot glue this time. And just like that, the animal guide was complete. Now it was time to make the object Soyu will use to hold her animal guide. I call it an object because I definitely didn't want to make a leash. I hate the idea of her guide being tied up. This part was tricky and I spent quite some time figuring out how to connect them without making it look like a master and a tamed animal. In the end, I thought of a metallic ribbon made from hard wire to hold the fish's weight. The ribbon would form an open necklace at the end, more like jewelry than a collar, giving the fish the freedom to move in and out as it pleases. To make sure the ribbon was strong enough to hold the fish but still flexible, I used the weaving technique common in wire jewelry. This not only tied the two wires together for stability, but also created a pattern that looks visually interesting. 4 wraps around the two wires together, then 4 on the top wire, 4 on the bottom, and I repeated this 6 times. And well, I didn't count this time how many of these patterns I did. I have to admit, I began in the meditative phase, but eventually I found myself in the patience and a little bit of frustration state. But it's okay, it happens sometimes. So after I finished the weaving, I bent the edge of the band to form the shape of a necklace, allowing the fish's head to fit snugly inside. And it was time to place it in my doll's hands. For the final details, I bent the other edge of the band, which I had placed in my doll's right hand, and decorated with metallic and small white beads. With everything set, the animal guide could take its place on this beautiful necklace, ready to lead Soyu to magical places. And with that, this project was complete. Let's take a proper look. What do you think of this unusual animal guide with its crystal fins? I want to thank you so much for watching. I had a blast making this fish. It was my first time working with UV resin and it was super fun. Don't forget, you can check out Soyu's transformation from a geisha doll to an elegant creature in my previous video. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button or drop a comment. I love reading your thoughts. A haunted house project is coming soon, so stay tuned. Until next time, I wish you great crafting adventures.